For this one, we're going to talk about the missing Georgia girls of 1963, and this is a tough one, so viewer discretion is absolutely advised. In Georgia and throughout other parts of the South, both teenagers and children wanted to take part in the civil rights movement, and many had already taken part in sit-ins, protests, and picketing of segregated spaces in the early 1960s. In July of 1963, approximately 200 Black youth met in downtown Americus, Georgia to peacefully protest local segregation. Predictably, the police moved in to arrest the young protesters after sanctioning violent attacks by a white mob. Now, many of these young protesters were released shortly after being arrested. However, some of the young Black girls, they weren't so lucky. The girls were packed into a windowless van and transported from cell to cell in rural Southwest Georgia before finally ending up in a stockade in Leesburg. Now, 15 girls, they were imprisoned for at least 45 days without ever being charged for a crime. And these girls, they were nicknamed the Stolen Girls, the youngest being 12 and the oldest being 15. The Leesburg stockade was 20 miles outside of their hometown, and the young girls, they were not fed for the first 2 days, and they survived the following days on rations of cold and undercooked hamburgers and egg sandwiches that made the girls horribly ill with diarrhea or vomiting. They slept on the floor or on dirty mattresses and didn't have a working toilet. Shattered glass also littered the concrete floor, and the only running water dripped from a leaky shower head. And the kicker, they shared this space with all kinds of bugs, mice, and on one occasion, a guard threw a snake into their room. They were taunted, they were called names, things I won't describe, but that I'm sure you can imagine. As summer drew on, the conditions got worse. They were wearing the same clothes, the toilet was filling with excrement, and it was beyond hot. But still, through all of that, they found ways to distract themselves. They would play games, they would tell jokes, and they would put on talent shows. And this whole time, the parents had no idea where they were. And they were still locked up during the March on Washington on August 28th of 1963 when Dr. Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech in front of the Lincoln Memorial. After weeks in the stockade, they heard a car pull up. Then they saw a Black man chatting with one of the guards, and while he was doing that, they saw a white man sneak out of the car and quietly make his way over to one of the windows. And this man, he was 21-year-old Danny Lyon, who was a photographer with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and he and other members of the SNCC had been searching for the girls for weeks. And Danny's famous images of the atrocities were published in magazines like Jet and Ebony to bring awareness to the nation. And let me break down the ultimate indignity. Not only were some of these girls teased and called jailbirds when they returned to school, but the parents received a bill for $2 a day for every day their child was imprisoned. God bless America.